Well, Trump's legal problems are having an impact not only on the former president himself, but on many of his closest aides as well. As the Washington Post reports, things could soon get uncomfortable for several Trump advisors who are mentioned prominently in one of his 3 criminal indictments. Their involvement could ultimately set up a situation where they are working for Trump's 2024 campaign while also serving as witnesses at one of his upcoming trials. Joining us now, one of the contributors to that story, Washington Post reporter covering the Justice Department, Perry Stein. Perry, this sounds beyond awkward, perhaps even impossible. Who are we talking about here?
Yeah, so we know, my colleagues have counted at least 7 current Trump advisors who are mentioned in these indictments that he faces and could be called as potential witnesses. So we're seeing, and this is based on, some of the Washington Post reporting using sources to piece together who's in the indictment and who are his advisors. But we're talking people like Susie Wiles and Jason Miller, people that are still quite close to Trump, and also not to mention Mr. Nauta, who's a co-defendant in the Mar-a-Lago case, who you saw one day doing his initial court appearance alongside his boss, President Trump, or former President Trump, and then going to a campaign event with him right after that. So we know that people that could be key witnesses in these cases are still working with the former president as he runs to be president again in 2024.
So, Perry, how does Donald Trump handle this going forward, then? If it's possible that he could be violating court orders, just by talking to somebody in his campaign team, and presumably they don't want to release who they think it is because that could put them in a difficult position as well. How are they going to handle somebody like Jason Miller, who is potentially a witness?
So we know that, and I could speak to, let's just take the Florida case, for example. The judge down there, the magistrate judge and the judge, what they said is you cannot talk about witnesses about the facts of the case. So it's not like he can't talk to Mr. Nauta, who's a close, an aide, a valet to him. It's not like he can't talk to him about, what's the day ahead lies. It's specifically they can't talk about the facts of that case. And in that case, we know that prosecutors handed over to the Trump's team a list of at least 84 witnesses that they say he can't talk to the facts about the case.
It's just so interesting, Perry, though, because I would say that some people who work for Donald Trump might be a little scared of him, and they may be in an awkward position if he tries to cross the lines. And it is fact that he has crossed boundaries before, even over the weekend, against a judge's directions on how to behave.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. It is awkward. So as my colleagues noted in that piece, what we see is, a lot of these people have testified before in the January 6th committee under grand jury subpoena, all these different ways. But that was a pretty private setting. So if they're called as in front of witnesses, they'd be doing it in a courtroom with presumably Donald Trump there looking at them and, in front of a jury. And, they're collecting a paycheck, a lot of them, from Donald Trump as they are going to testify. And, you can face criminal charges if you don't speak truthfully. So it is an awkward position. You have, I know some aides have said, they're doing what they're supposed to. They're talking to investigators, but they still say they are loyal to Trump.